Alright fellas, I'm back and today I wanted to cover the downfall of Overwatch 2. It is performing very poorly and I don't have enough information about other games. But from my limited experience of observing games on sites like Steam Charts or SteamDB, it is experiencing a massive and noticeable decline right away. So why don't we go over it? So if you look at this chart, normally what happens is the cycle is pretty predictable. There's not enough of a variance. Like you see a cycle up and down, that's normal, almost regularly, because different regions are logging into play. So that's why you see, depending on where the game is most popular, that's where you see the biggest spike. And then when all those people are signing off, you see the lowest dip. And as we can see here, it started off pretty strong with 75,000 and with the lowest point around 25,000. Next day, it's an immediate dip already, 71,000 to 24,000. And again, another dip. This is just after one day. It's not even after 1 week. Even the valleys, the lowest points are dipping. 61,000, 21,000-ish, 58,000, 20,000, 52. 19, 50. Now there's a little bit of an outlier here where it's dipped lower than I don't know why, normal. 47, and it keeps going, right? And you can see that the peaks and the valleys are declining on a daily basis. I haven't seen something like this. So if you want to compare it to another game, Battlefield 2042, we can see for starters, there's not a lot of people playing the game on PC. Relatively speaking, 8,000 of a peak is still very good for a game. It's just that Battlefield used to be very big, and now it's doing very poorly, so it does have an impact. We can see it's around 8,000, around 4,000 there, it goes up to 9,000, around 3,000 there, 8,500. 8,300, 8,600. And if you look at the peaks, that's 9,000 there, around 10,000 there. It's pretty even. There's like no overall trend. If you look at the actual overall trend, it's very sad. So it started very high and then dips rapidly down, and then there's a little bit of an uptick. It's now doing a little bit healthier, and then it's going down again. So man, how low Battlefield has fallen. It's very sad to see. But one thing that's really funny is you have to compare it to games that have been a little bit older and have, it just some sort of longevity to it. It's gonna be very funny, but I predict that Overwatch 2 is gonna perform worse than Left 4 Dead 2 very soon. If you can see, I don't know why this is, because for me, while I love Left 4 Dead 2, there's not much you can do with that game. Like, I don't know why you would play it over and over again. It's a good game, don't get me wrong, and I love playing with friends, but after a while, I'm just like, I get bored of it, I guess I'm not the average player, because as you can see here, it's around averaging 30,000, a little bit of a dip. It's sticking pretty close to 30,000, give or take a couple, and it's like that. It's like that going for a long time. It's weird. This game, it just won't die. So if your game is doing worse than Left 4 Dead 2, yeah, and you're from like a AAA studio, I don't know, man. I think you're doing a lot of things wrong. So if you take a look at the top sellers chart, we're gonna see that it's not making Blizzard a lot of money either. And let's scroll down. So Baldur's Gate 3 is still #1. Depending on the region, the numbers may change just slightly. Usually it's not enough to shift it in a crazy amount. If you go all the way down over here, all the way down, it's performing worse than Terraria, which is a $10 game. Wow. Wow, what are you doing, Blizzard? And the reviews are still sitting at 9% negative. Now I gotta say something to you fellas out there. When I heard this, it was a little hard for me to wrap my head around it. But negative reviews don't really impact sales. If you don't believe me, you can look at any game with overwhelmingly negative reviews, like such as Battlefield 2042. Even though people were writing, don't buy this game, if you look at the number of reviews, and then project sales based on that, a lot of people bought the game. A lot of people bought the game, and that means that unfortunately EA made a lot of money, and that's why even though you leave negative reviews, the number one thing that impacts the developer slash publisher the most is to not buy the game. Don't buy the game. If you see a game with a lot of negative reviews, wait for it to go on sale, alright? At the very least. But don't buy it at launch. Secondly, we have to stop playing the game. If you keep playing the game and you keep buying the game, there's no incentive for them to fix anything. And even though you review bomb the game and people don't play the game anymore, if you keep doing it every time they release a game, they make money, and that's their main goal. They don't care. They're not going to be like, oh no, they wrecked us 9% negative. It doesn't matter to them as long as they're making money, and that's what people don't get. You got to hit them where it hurts. Money is the number one thing that hurts. Number two is stop playing the game. So if you can do both, that's awesome. The thing I wanted to go over is, it's very sad to see Overwatch 2 performing so poorly. The numbers are still very good. 40,000-ish is very good, but it's going down, and it's gonna hit lower than Left 4 Dead 2 at the rate it's going. It's gonna be performing worse than Left 4 Dead 2. Now I gotta admit, Left 4 Dead 2 is performing very well for a game its age. I just can't wrap my mind around it. It's like I don't get it. But anyways, it's sad to see, and I honestly don't want Overwatch to fail. I like Overwatch. I love Overwatch 1. It wasn't perfect, especially after GOATs became a problem, and then they instituted role queue, and then we got double shield, and you know, I feel like it made the game worse. I feel like there were better changes to implement into the game, but forcing role queue doesn't necessarily make it better, and I think a lot of people who play Overwatch 2 will contest, if they're honest, that role queue is not necessarily better than open queue. The reason being, if you have a bad tank in Overwatch 2, you're stuck with that person playing tank for the entire game, and you're gonna lose. If you have a bad support player, you're stuck with that bad support player till the end of the game, and you're gonna lose. If you have a bad DPS player, you're stuck with that bad DPS player, and you're gonna stick with that player playing DPS until the end of the game, and you're gonna lose, alright? And I think people are feeling more of that, especially with the matchmaking being god-awful compared to Overwatch 1. And, you know, like there has to be better fixes. So, I don't claim to know what it is, alright? I have some ideas after playing a lot of MOBAs, but role queue is not necessarily better. It's like a band-aid on a gaping wound they had. And they had to buff DPS or supports, you know, somehow, so that, you know, GOATs wasn't such a big problem. But the reason why role queue is bad is, number one, it made the queue time super long, and secondly, it made the game super boring to watch. Because what came after GOATs? Double shield. Alright, it was so boring to watch. It was more boring than GOATs. People just sat there with the shields up. You know, it was Sigma, Ligma, and Orisa, and they would swap out. It was a very easy rotation, very low skill thing to do. Anyone can do it, and then you had like Reaper as a DPS who would try to flank, and then if he failed, he would just wraith out, and he was safe. Anyways, I'm not gonna go over that. A lot of people can disagree with me, that's fine. It's just my opinion. I don't know what I'm talking about. But going back, I don't want Overwatch to fail. I want it to get better, and the only way it's gonna get better faster is if people, again, going back to what I was saying, you have to stop spending money on this game, and you have to stop playing it. Now, if you're playing the game and you think it's fine and you like it, that's fine. I'm not going to tell you to do anything. You do whatever you want. If you're enjoying the game and having a good time, keep playing it. That's good on you. But for anyone else who is not liking what's happening to Overwatch 2, and you know, you used to like Overwatch 1, you might have even liked Overwatch 2, but as you play, you get the feeling that it's no longer fun. There's no soul to the game anymore, and it's just more of a chore to play, where it's like you have to play Overwatch instead of you get to play Overwatch. You get my drift, fellas? It's a chore now. It feels like you have to do something you don't really want to do. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but primarily the number one thing is their goal is to make money. It isn't to provide a fun experience. And when their goal is to make money, people will always say, hey, you don't have to buy it. It's just an optional, purchase. But the thing is, it affects the game because in order for them to get you to buy stuff, there has to be a reason to buy that stuff. And for them to craft a reason, they shape the gameplay and the mechanics around. Well, the screen blackened out for a second. They have to shape the gameplay and the mechanics around the incentives to push you towards, spending money in the game. So even if you say, oh, you don't have to spend money on it, even if I don't, I have to deal with the ramifications of a developer who's solely focused on milking money out of you. It affects every aspect of the game. I'm sad to see it, but good news is, I hope that graph I showed you, I hope it drops sharper. If you want Overwatch 2 to improve, stop playing the game. Stop spending money on the game. Leaving negative reviews does nothing. Going on the forums and being super toxic every time they release an update, it does absolutely nothing. You want them to stop, messing up the game. You want them to stop being doo-doo heads. You gotta stop playing the game and you gotta stop spending money. Otherwise, they get what they want. Even if you don't spend any money and you're still playing the game, you're generating metrics. You're making their analytics look good. They want engagement. They want you to keep playing the game. Even if you don't spend any money, it increases the chances of you spending money. And even if you never spend money, as long as you're playing the game, it makes it look appealing to other people who want to play the game and spend money. For example, if you're a whale, who are you going to show off your skins to if there's no one else playing the game, right? You're just a number to make the whales feel good about themselves. I want you to think about that for a second. Okay, so that's going to be it. It's kind of funny. Going back to the chart, I haven't seen a game drop like this from a AAA developer. My god, how low Blizzard has fallen. I mean, Diablo 4, what they're doing with that game is tragic as well. Again, if you find it fun and you don't have any problems, that's okay. Just ignore this video. I don't know why you're watching it. But, if you do have problems, I want to urge everyone, if you want any fixes at all, you have to stop playing the game. If you are hating it and you're complaining every step of the way but you're still playing, that's a problem. That's an addiction. Y'all gotta stop. You gotta break the cycle. So then Blizzard's like, oh no, we're gonna lose money, and then they're gonna like, oh shoot, what do players want? What do we need to do to get them back? And then they might finally fix all the problems they had. That's gonna be it. This is very tragic. But I'm happy in that finally players are demanding some form of respect for their time and money. And I think, for me, if you're giving any developer, any publisher your time and money, they need to respect you. Because if they don't, they're not going to give you anything worthwhile in exchange for your time and money. They have to respect you. Otherwise, they're not going to give you anything that's worth anything. They're just going to milk you very hard until you're out of money and then move on to the next sucker. I'm glad Baldur's Gate 3 is out. I'm glad developers are pissing themselves saying, oh, this better not be the new standard. You know what? Screw all of them. I don't care. Earn my money. Again, I don't expect, an indie developer to make the same scope as Baldur's Gate 3. But I expect every person to try and try to give us the most value for our time and money. That's all I wanted. And the thing is, most game developers, the big ones, the indie ones are perfectly fine. I play a lot of indie games. They're doing a very good job right now. Some of them, not all of them. But like, these big companies, they gotta stop doing this. I'm so sick and tired of seeing big companies, not just for video games, for movies, TV shows, music, anything, And recently there was that drama with Linus, turning into a soulless corporation. I'm tired of seeing it. and I'm tired of putting up with it. Y'all gotta fight back. We can do it if we all stick together. Anyways, here's to Blizzard. We're sticking it to the man, and I hope they take a look at the numbers and then really think about what they're doing. Because the reality is, if you make a good product, people will throw money at you. Obviously, you need marketing along with a good product, but that's another topic for another day. And with that, I'll catch you guys next time.